Some of them didn't know their ages, but we realized that some of them were very intelligent. So we put them on an educational catch-up program. And those who excelled in the educational catch-up, he was one of the people who excelled in the educational catch-up program, and is now flying. He's reminding me he did P4, P5, P6, and P7 in the same year. So you can imagine what type of children parents throw away. And then he was taken to Kapeka and he did that PLE in the same year on this educational catch-up program. So we are so proud of you. Like I told you, Madam Chief Magistrate, I don't want a birthday party. I want to tile the entire parking lot in the church. I want interlocking tiles all over it. And I wish I could get that money. And Pastor Robert said that, knowing very well that we wouldn't raise the money. So we went on a quest to try and raise that money. And today, we are going to hand over an amount of money to him. And I'm going to ask some people. I know there's social distancing, but there's some people I would like to come and join us as we hand over this package. I want you, Honorable Nyeko, to come over. Pastor Nam, Pastor Kenneth Kato, and his. So this is 100 million Uganda shillings. We pray that you will be able to tile the entire compound like we wanted. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much for keeping us alive. I remember from the moment I married my husband, my greatest fear was for us to ever be parted. And I thank God that he has honored me up to now and that he has kept my husband alive. Let's give God all the glory. I always say that the most prophetic thing he ever did was to look ahead of who I was then and marry me. I know there are so many prophetic things that he has done, but I thank you for being prophetic enough to consider me as good marriage material. Like my father said, I was very young. I was 21 when I walked down the aisle to meet this handsome man of God. And I felt that the world was ahead of me. But again, I felt like Abraham. When God said to Abraham, go to the land I will show you. I didn't know what that land was. I was walking in faith. And I'm so blessed that today I stand here to say God has unveiled this land gradually. I think my father was my best friend. And it was very hard for me to ever have to squeeze somebody else into the picture. But I now stand to say that my husband is really my friend. Our public life, it's been ups and downs, turmoils, making the headlines, but never on any day did my parents or my brothers, my other brother is here, we didn't disclose him because he's now in the middle of some court case. We don't want him to get any verbal boxing. My brothers have always been available as church lawyers for the church, and I praise God so much. And my dad has been there to consult and push them on. So I just want to thank you so much, my family, for not tiring, not getting weary of us, and standing with me and supporting me. I want to thank my sisters-in-law so much. I was the only girl before these people came, and now I have sisters. Thank you so much. I want to thank my husband's spiritual children that are here. When I married my husband, he had already been in ministry. And their children I found in that ministry. So if they were his biological children, I would be a stepmother. But they welcomed me. They loved me. And I just want to thank God for them. I want to thank God so much for you, Pastor Kato, and your beautiful wife. I want to thank God so much for you, Pastor Nam. I want to thank God for Pastor Chiwewesi, Pastor Aaron Mutebi, Pastor, thank you so much. Pastor Robert is really my friend. And, it's one thing to be married to someone. It's one thing to have a lover, but I have a friend. I remember there was a time when I had meetings, business meetings, 3 days in a row. And I would come back very late, and Pastor Robert was always at home. And he asked me, why their business... The truth is the business meetings would end, and then we would drink tea and talk. So one day, I thought to myself, I won't do this again. I'll come back early on the 5th day. And somehow, somewhere, I got into the tea mode after the meeting. And we drank and ate. And when I came back, Pastor Robert was in the sitting room. So I thought to myself, he hasn't yet gone to the bedroom. So I can take off my shoes and quietly go to the bedroom, bathe, and come back and say, welcome back. Like I have been, I've been at home the whole day. So I did exactly that. I took off my shoes, crawled over the steps, go to my bedroom, bathed, and then I came and found him in the sitting room. I bathed at a marathon, and I said, Kulika Yosebo. And he said, Kai, now Kulika Yonyabo Jofa. And since that time, we laugh about it. We just laugh. And there are times he has told me, are you going to rush? We come in somewhere late. We come in later and he says, are you going to rush up? And are you going to take off your shoes and rush up? And we joke about that and laugh about that. And there are times I'll tell him things and he will pretend he doesn't hear. He will pretend he has fallen asleep in the newspaper. And all of a sudden I wake up and those things are done. Oh, it's the transformation I talked about. And there are times he will also talk to me and tell me things and I'll argue. And because I'm a very loquacious person, I'm very verbal, I argue and say, I want. And then somewhere, somehow, there is an inkling within me. I feel guilty that I haven't done what he told me to do, and then I will do it. And we laugh over all that. I think when you can laugh over your mistakes, that somebody is really a friend. And now at this old age, we are like babies. Even though I can wake up in the morning and say, I'm not going to talk to him today, but then I'll see something, either online or in town, and then I think, I must tell this. I must tell Pastor Robert this. So we are becoming like babies, and then as I'm thinking of calling him, he has called me. And he says something he has seen or he's thinking about or he's thinking about doing. So I can never imagine a life without you. And I pray that God will give you long life. I have seen Pastor Robert's faith in action. I have seen his faith in action, first of all, in marrying me. I think that was an act of faith. In coming to Professor's office with me, I think that was an act of faith. In the way we started out, that was an act of faith. The building of that church, that was an act of faith. Our children were faith children. The manifestation of God, what God has done in our lives, I have seen your faith bringing it to pass. And now I say, like Ruth said to Naomi, your God will always be my God. Your people will always be my people. Where you go, I will go. Thank you for tolerating me for 30 years. And thank you for not pushing me into ministry. When I married my husband, he stood up and told the church, I have not married this woman for you. I have married her for myself. But the earlier struggles in our life pushed me to seek God more. And he said, I'm not pushing you into ministry. It could be a calling. It may not be your calling. But one day I was inadvertently pushed into ministry. And those people who were in Miracle Center that day remember when the pastors were not there. And Pastor Robert flew out of the country. He told us, if God started this church, it will continue. I think you remember Pastor Arthur and Shok and the rest of the people. So the people who were available that time were our campus group, Pastor Arthur, Pastor Makoko, Pastor Kato. And I remember somebody was supposed to go on and lead people in praise and worship and pray. But in the middle of it, he said, let me even invite the pastor's wife to say hello. And I almost died. But that is the way I was launched into ministry. Like trial and error. So resilient that Pastor Robert is not somebody I can even put a stand on. And, and not meaning it, say I'm walking out of the church. He would just go to the lake and speak in tongues and pray. He would not run after me. That is how resilient he is. We have learned to be in lack and we have learned to abound because of his resilience. There are times in our early years when we had absolutely nothing. But Pastor Robert would go around happily. He would wake up, wear his suit, go to church, and the little money he would get, give it away. He is so strong. Very, very strong. I want to thank you for being that strong. I want to thank you for being that resilient because it is your strength that keeps us strong. I want to thank God because you are indeed a people magnet. There are people who I admired from a distance, but I had no idea I would even come close to them. Like Apostle Grace Lubega, like Apostle Mukisa. But I just don't know what it is about you. I'm about to start using you to get close to people. It is your God. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for being a good father and being there for the children. There was a time when Robert was very sick in hospital, and he was a child, he was a baby. And Pastor Kayanja had a crusade to go to. So he came to hospital and stayed with me. In my mind, I thought, this boy is too sick, my husband will not travel. But in the middle of it, I think one day after a day in hospital, he told me, you know what, I had a dream. And I said, what? And by that time, Robert appeared to be, so sickly, the malaria, I think because he had been born abroad and all that.